We managed to hit Master's RTA today on the alt, with nothing but these 12 support heroes here. I'll be going over my general thought process when I draft with these units. This is obviously very, very limiting, so some of the stuff might not apply. Like, I forced Landy every single game, even though I think she's not an amazing DPS because I have no other DPS options. So something like that might not be super relevant, but the general ideas about why I pick units in certain spots should still apply fine. And everybody is going to have way more options than this. There's the actual free units like Ross, the more or less free units, Arbiter Vildred, Death Dealer Ray, Mort, and you guys have all of these fully deck selectors, hero selectors, artifact selectors, all your free daily cup summons, the free galaxy summons too. So there's going to be a lot more units for everybody to work with, and you should have much more flexibility with when you pick certain stuff and what you pick. But this I'm just going to be going over what I used. So we can go to my match history page here. Unfortunately, the hero tab isn't updated yet. It takes a bit of time. This only shows 38 matches, but I've definitely played way more than that. I've played almost double that. So we're just gonna take a look at all of my matches, pretty much. And I'll explain why I picked units. My first 3 picks in every single game, it's Crow, Leica, Landy. The only times I don't do this is if Crow gets stolen. Sometimes certain first picks make me not pick Leica, or if it's a very obvious anti-cleave, or it's a very obvious cleave and I'm going anti-cleave where I don't really need that much damage, sometimes I'll just pick the best anti-cleave supports, though there's not that many good ones. Crow is just such a good tank. He's not as good as something like Emma Arunca, of course, who I pre-ban. I pre-ban Emma Arunca every single match because I think she's really hard to deal with these support units. But he's a great tank, especially for the way we're drafting. Prot set plus his damage share is really good. With Landy, the defense buff is great, and also his S3 nuke can help snipe out certain units as well. Leica, I think she synergizes really well with Landy. Her S2 is really nice. You can S2 into something, Landy can hit them, push up, and get to S3 immediately off the bat. It depends on if they have another opener, but even if they have another opener, if you S2 Leica into something that has a buff, and Landy hits them and they still have a buff, then she will push to 100%, which is really nice. Also, Leica has the extra option of pressing S3 to sleep everything, which I've used in a couple of matches as well. He's also on Guiding Light, so Leica is immune to Zio. Zio can't S3 her. The Guiding Light also gives her some damage reduction, so she stays alive a bit longer than you would expect, because you also have Crow here most of the time. And then Landy is just our... Oh, also Leica is your second fastest unit of the support units. I think she's like 285. I can check real quick. Yeah, she's 285, so she's your second fastest unit, so it's nice to pick her up this early anyways. Landy is the only good DPS, I would say, out of all the support units, which is why I'm forcing her every single game. I think she has very clear weaknesses. She's really weak into Afternoon Soak Flan, weak into Genua, weak into Arbiter Vildred, weak into BBK, weak into strippers like New and Luna, but she's our only DPS, so we have no choice. This is the thing where I'm just so limited in my unit pool that we are picking Landy every single game, because if they're allowed to ban Landy, then I'm not going to be able to kill anything, so I have to lockpick her. That's also why pretty much every game I win, she's almost always the MVP. I have no idea how Leica managed to get it here. The only times I don't do this is if I'm fighting a Cleave and I'm trying to anti-Cleave. This match is a bit weird. We're going to talk about this one first. Just because here he picks Peyra and Selene after I pick Crow. This isn't necessarily a Cleave yet. Selene's not really a Cleave unit. So I still go Landy just in case I need damage to bust through a team, but Sid is good here because he can speed contest to Peyra, and he can also just one-shot to Selene with S3 if needed. His Peyra is faster though, unfortunately, so there's nothing I can really do about that. After he locks in Araminta and Lidica, this is very obviously a Cleave. So we just go Polytus for the CR cut and also to activate off of Peyra's S3, which she bans. And then Leica because she's our second fastest unit, which we lose. I match him again soon after, and I still do crowd because there's not really anything else to pick here. And we just go Paladus Sid. I maybe should have just lockpicked Paladus and went for the full RNG, but honestly, there's a decent chance that he could have just not pressed S3 and killed me anyways. And then Destina, just as another tanky unit. Maybe, like, if the stars align, we're able to revive. Leica, because she's our second fastest unit. So here, even his Litica outspeeds my Leica, so pretty much doomed from the start, unfortunately. We can take a look at another example down here. Let's see when the next time I pick ace it is. This match, okay, this match here, I actually don't remember what happened in this one, so we're going to talk about this one. This one I start off with, he had first pick. He picked Peyra, I do the usual Crow Leica, and he picks Zioteo. So this is a very obvious cleave. So instead of picking Landy here, I'm going to lock Paladus, because I'm not going to ban the Peyra. I'm just going to say, if you're going to press S3, my Paladus will activate, have fun. Then he picks Litica BBK, and I'm just going to go Landy and Acid. Because I picked Acid, I'm going to commit and ban the Zeo, and we are going to try and just kill the BBK. This generally would have been a win for me, but we did get a little bit unlucky. You can see here from the initial CR bar, I did outspeed both my Acid and my Leica outsped both of his openers, especially in low elo. You should, of course, respect openers by picking units to contest them, but not everybody is going to be fast, is something that you should keep in mind. I Acid S3 into his Litica, one-shot her and she's dead, and then I Leica S2 into BBK, but unfortunately BBK resists the -1 turn on the buff duration decrease on Leica's S2. If that landed, then BBK would have lost her Immortal, then Landy S1 would have procced the second Immortal, and we pretty much generally would have been fine, because Paladus S2, if Peyra presses S3, would activate and remove the second one. And also, all the chances for Crown to stun BBK, Crown never activated, but since BBK just resisted everything, she just killed everything. It happens, but this is pretty much why I locked Paladus this game instead of Landy, and this is just the anti-cleave draft. Here's a couple of drafts where I pick Sid on the lockpick slot. I open with Crow as usual. He goes Litica Euphine, which is... he's cleaving. Euphine is a cleave-only DPS. So I just go Leica Sid. We lockpick Sid here because he's our fastest unit, and Leica's getting picked anyways because she's our second fastest. And then he goes Tenebria, Paladus, and finally Zeo at the very end. But before he picks Zeo, I just go Tenebria Landy. There's not really too many options for me to work with here, honestly. I actually don't know why I didn't pick Paladus. I probably should have picked Paladus over Fairy Tail Tenebria, though he ended up banning it anyway, so whatever. Then Landy is just here because if Leica goes, I can S2, and we get to pull Landy. So then from the match itself, my Sid outsped is Tenebria, and then my Leica outsped is Paladus. So Sid, we just hit the Tenebria, not going to one-shot her, but we at least push her back. Then Leica can S2, pull up Landy, and we can start doing things. So this was pretty much just a standard anti-cleave. There's definitely some matches where I picked Acid even earlier, I think, or was it just the ones up there? I guess it was just the ones up there, but you get the general idea. The only time you really pivot from this Landy, like the Crow Core, is if they're cleaving, pretty much, or if they steal Crow. There's definitely some games up here where they stole Crow from me. Like this one, he just took Crow. And this one. Unlucky. There are some games definitely on here. I'll link this match history, of course. There's some games where I was just kind of getting used to it. I don't know why I picked Destina here. I should have just gone Leica. But definitely by the end, I kind of had like my I guess, my flowchart for what I was picking a lot more thought out. I would say that's pretty important for most people. You should just know what you're trying to pick against certain things. The units that I picked in the last 2 slots in a standard draft, it's going to be either Last Rider Crow, Destina, Paulus, Assassin Sid, Fairy Tail Tenebria, or Shu. I also did pick Charlotte and Moon Bunny Dominiel a couple of times, but those are much more rare. I think I picked Apocalypse Ravi like once, and pretty sure she didn't do anything. I don't even remember. Is that every single unit on here? Yes, so I have picked every single unit at least once, but for the most part, besides the initial 3 of Crow, Laika, Landy, it's LRK, Destina, Paulus, Sid, or Acid, F10A, and Shu. As for when to pick these units, LRK is a unit that I usually pick if I'm looking to get some sort of, like, the AoE pen, pretty much, is what I pick him for. Or if they pick a lot of AoE units that can't kill him super easily, I'll also pick him there. His artifact doesn't help too much with mitigating damage, because it's just Rise of Monarch, but it is something, and he's a decently tanky kind of damage dealer, because S3 does do a good amount of damage. Athena is a decent all-rounder. I think if you don't know what to pick, she's fine enough. If you have, I would say most people have better options than Destina. I don't think she's like super good, but for my purposes, she works fine. I picked her especially in slow matches. If they ever slow down, like here, this is a Harsetti match, I'm going to pick Destina. This was also another Harsetti match. So she's pretty much just your healer. She's on a healing artifact too, so she does heal a lot. The Paulus you pick whenever you have a non-attack skill for her to activate. You could also pick her into anti-cleave, or into cleaves as an anti-cleave unit, just for her S2 CR cut. She's on Crown, so you can RNG people too. Decent unit in the specific situations where her passive and her S3 is useful. So we can actually take a look at, this was a really good Paulus match here. I picked Paulus here because my idea was that this Genua is annoying, and when he activates his S2, we can actually just use Paulus S2 to try and stun him or strip his immortal. Elena also is going to force activate our Paulus, but we skip the first turn because there's Celine here, so we can't press like S2. Then here we're also just going to S1 the Genua, because if we stun him, then it's fine. And if we don't stun him, our Landy's in Guiding Light anyways. But we do stun him, which removes his S2 passive. Now he can't activate. This isn't necessarily what I planned. I initially planned to actually activate his S2 and then stun him, but this works out just as well. And then from here, it's pretty much cooked, because you can actually see the strip in effect here. My Landy does manage to hit the Genua. This activates Elena. It activates Paulus. Trucked, and we strip the Immortal. So now Crow can just kill him on the next turn. So that is one of the ways you can use Paulus, just into units with non-attack skills like that. Fairy Tail Tenebria I actually think is pretty strong. She's really good into teams that have no cleanse. That's a lot of the situations I pick her. Just if they have no cleanse, you can just run them over. This is actually the match right before that, where I did pick Fairy Tail Tenebria, and honestly, he probably should have banned it. Again, I can't use Leica S2 because of Celine here, so we just skip the turn. But when Fairy Tail Tenebria uses her S3 here, I'm F-press checking that Sangelica. I'm pretty confident that it's not going to be able to resist, because this Fairy Tail has 177 effectiveness. We proc the counter, which instantly procs our S2. And we also land 2 Death Breaks, which is pretty nice. The buff block from her S2, or from her S3, removes the, prevents everybody else from getting the Vigor and Speed buff, except for Celine, because we didn't hit her. But effectively now, his team is just completely locked down, and we can just start firing on them, which is what I do. I killed the ARAM here because I hit her and she's death broken, and we can just start working on killing his entire team. So she's really, really good in those spots where they have no cleanser. Even if they have one cleanser, you can also just FRS check them. And then there is Assassin Sid. Assassin Sid I pick in a lot of spots. He is the fastest unit out of all of the units here. He's 295, but it's not just for speed contesting, because you can use him to just snipe units and one-shot them. I'm trying to see if there's any games here where that did happen. I think he gets banned very, very frequently, so you don't get to see it too often. Here, games like this. Let's see if we can see this replay here. Basin. Replay doesn't work for some reason. Well, oh, because it was before the update. Well, that sucks, but we can at least take a look at the turn order here. We start off the match, Acid goes first, and I just S3 into his Politis and kill it. Because I figured this is probably the support Politis, and she's on a full damage build, so we just one-shot her, and he immediately forfeited, because next up, I just like a S2 into the Hua Young and kill her too, and he has no DPS, and the game is over. So even in this situation, where I wasn't speed contesting anything, I just picked him as a unit to just one-shot a squishy at the start of the match. Here is a pretty similar thing. I think this guy, his Luna wasn't on immunity, actually, so I just slammed into the Luna. But even if his Luna was on immunity, my plan was I was going to just slam into the Hua Young and kill her, and then hope that Landy wouldn't just murder me that fast. Not the greatest plan, but since I outsped and he wasn't on immunity, we just hit the Luna instead. So pretty much you'll pick him whenever you want something fast. Then there was one more unit, Shu. I think Shu is pretty bad, but if you are lacking damage, then you can pick her. Because she still does do pretty good damage, especially if there's nothing to really threaten her that much. And that's pretty much just all of the units I pick, and when I pick them. I'm going to skim these drafts and see if there's anything else. So here, this game, I picked Bdom early because he picked Conqueror Lilius really early. You can also use... I use Fairy Tail Tenebria just because he has no cleanse on his team. Paulus activates off of Genua, activates off of Conqueror Lilius, and also Mort, so Paulus is really good here too. Unfortunately, most of these matches are old, so I can't take a look at the replays, but I can take a look at my VODs. This here was probably the most interesting match I had at all across my entire placement matches, just because this guy was also only using support units, and that just made things very interesting. I start off, I had first pick here. He took too long to draft, so I'm not showing the draft, but I took Crow, and then after I took Crow, he goes into LRK plus Landy, which is a little bit of a problem because I usually pick Landy. So my primary DPS is gone. I still take Leica, just because I think she's still a decent overall unit, but now I need a DPS for my lockpick. I picked Charlotte because Charlotte can reveal Landy. Charlotte is not great into LRK because LRK is really strong against AoE spams, especially ones that don't do too much damage. But I am hoping that I can just ban him or punch through him one way or another, which is why I ended up picking Shu later. But first, he picks Assassin Sid and Apocalypse Ravi. So I pick up Shu and Destina. Shu because I want a way to punch through this LRK if I need to, depending on what he picks last. And also because Shu helps me with my damage issue against Apocalypse Ravi as well. Destina is just here for overall healing, helps me sustain up a bit longer. I would have picked Fairy Tail Tenebria. I think she is good here because they have no cleanse, but the problem is he picked Assassin Sid in his lockpick slot. I can't ban the Assassin Sid, and this means that if I pick Fairy Tail Tenebria, she's guaranteed to just get S3'd by Sid, and she won't get to do anything. So that's why I went Destina instead here, and he picks Bunny Dominil as his final pick. Then here, I was angling to ban LRK in the first place, and there's nothing preventing me from doing that based on what he picked with the rest of his picks. I could also just ban the Landy, because then he would have no real DPS. His only DPS would be LRK S3, and I guess Apocalypse Ravi and Assassin Sid. which aren't great DPS options, but I'm pretty sure that at this point I can just kill the Landy. He bans out the Leica, and it's into the match. So the Assassin Sid goes first. He doesn't have really that many great targets. His best target is probably Shu, because it's the only one he can really silence, and Shu is a pretty high prio target for him to take down anyways. He beat on S3 here for the attack buff and the CR push, and his Landy procs Wall of Order. My team is pretty bulky. We can take this without too much of an issue. Crowd takes the brunt of the damage due to the damage share. And he can't really get to kill me this turn, so we are going to have no problem getting a turn of our own. Our Crow is pretty low HP at this point, so we have the option of using our S3 on somebody. He goes for the kill on my Crow, but I have Holy Sacrifice. And this Assassin Sid is not going to be able to deal enough damage to kill us. Here I kind of misplay, I would say. I push up Shu to S3, but I think I should have pushed up Charlotte instead. Basically, what needs to happen here is I need to reveal this Landy. I don't know how much damage this Charlotte does, but that is a full tank, or it's a full damage Landy with zero mitigation of any sort. We just press S3 here. Luckily, I do hit the Landy. Definitely would have been safer to push up the Charlotte, but we barely revealed the Landy, and now we can just horse her and kill her. Since the Apocalypse Robbie already used S3, we don't have to worry about her until she finishes looping all the way around. And the way the rest of this match plays out, I'm just going to go forward a little bit. He kills off my Crow, because he was pretty low already anyways. We still have the Stina to revive him. We can get our mitigation back. We kill off the Assassin Sid. We're going to kill off the Bunny Domino. And at this point, with the Stina here against Apocalypse Robbie by herself, and we've got Crow for Provoke and the Pushback and the Death Buff, we can just punch through him with Shu without any real issues. So I thought this match was pretty interesting just because it forced me to not pick Landy and to pick some other options since this person stole my Landy and was also only using support units. I think we do cap it off with the Charlotte S3 here. Yeah, even if we weren't able to kill her if she was bulkier, Crow can provoke her for a little bit anyways. So this was pretty nice and clean. In this one, the enemy first picks Celine, so I just go Crow, Leica, business as usual because Celine is still pretty general. Here he goes Ludwig into Zeo, and this is very obviously a Cleave. I'm still going to go Landy here though, because Landy works very well into Zeo. She has her turn 1 stealth, and also Celine can't really hit her either. And then we go Assassin Sid, because there's not really much other choice for us here, really. We're going to go, he's going to go Westwind Shuri and Sylvain Sage Vivian. And at this point, I've noticed that he has a big issue with his draft, because yes, Zeo can Soulburn and then Ludwig will push up, but if I ban Ludwig, who's going next? He has no way to bridge his team properly, unless his Celine is really, really fast. So we picked Tenebria, insta-ban Ludwig. I'm basically banking that he's assuming I thought it was going to ban my Acid here, but I was banking that my Leica would outspeed his Celine. He bans Crow instead. Banning mitigation is a very common thing. And then, obviously, his Zeo outspeeds me, but you can see both my Tenebria and my Leica are ahead of his Celine. So he is kind of not going to have a great time. He pushes back into the Assassin Sid, and my Tenebria goes, he has no cleanse, plus my Landy can just kill the Sylvain Sage Vivian. We land all of our provokes here, and this is pretty much game over. So this is just one thing where there was a big glaring flaw in his cleave. Yes, Zio and Mudwig can bridge for each other, but if I get rid of his Mudwig, there's no way for his units to connect, and I can just steal a turn after him. So I just picked my 3 fastest units, and that was good enough. Here's another match. This time we are fighting against a very, very tanky team. This guy took ML Senya first. I go Crow Leica as usual. LRK, Bunka. We have no reason not to pick Landy. She's our highest damage dealer anyways. And then we pick Astina because this guy already picked 3 tanks. We know we're in for a long match. Astina's great in slower matches with her sustain and her CR push. And then finally he ends off with Landy and Bellion. So 5 Light Knights at this point. My options are LRK is gone, so I can't pick him. LRK would be decent because he has his Death Pen for fighting against Bunka. Also Landy, since Landy has her anti-crit. And also since Bellion spams AoEs. But he already took LRK, so we're not doing that. Charlotte's a decent option if I ban the LRK, because LRK is really good against AoEs. So Charlotte is weak to that. We would have to commit to banning LRK. But we are going to not pick Charlotte because I was thinking that Charlotte is going to kind of force proc the ML Senya. So we can't ban both of them, so we don't go Charlotte. But this guy has one big weakness, which is he does not have any cleanse on this team. So we are just going to lock in Fairy Tale Tenebria. It also takes me forever to decide who to ban here. But I end up deciding to ban the Senya because Senya does have a cleanse, and this big damage S3 could be annoying if we deal too much damage to the Landy, who would be in the back, I would imagine. So now we are going to get into the match. There's not really anyone for us to hit except for the Aruka. There's just not much of a choice. I'm not going to S2 yet either. We're just going to use Tenebria S3. And see how many we land. We managed to strip and we managed to provoke 3 of them, and you can see that's 2 death breaks, 1 on the Bunka, 1 on the Bellion. I probably should have S2 with Leica just for the attack buff. Forgot to take into account that with all of the buffs stripped, we're not going to be able to proc Wall of Order. We're going to push back Bellion here, just because since we did an S3 with Leica, we don't have immunity buff either. Don't want to get provoked or anything, though once we kill her, the provoke is gone anyways. So now we're going to S2, she's death broken, we can just S1 her, and she's dead. So this was pretty much a match where the Tenebria was a free win. He has no cleanse, even if he's really tanky. Especially since we landed some death breaks, we can just CC him and kill him. There's also a very unique drafting experience, which is called playing against Harsetti. Because the thing with Harsetti is that who gets to take the turns after Harsetti is complete RNG. These matches, honestly, you know if you've won or lost based off the very first turn most of the time. Here, he picked all of this stuff. I don't care about Zio. We're just going to face tank the Zio with our team. We have our Landy under her stealth from her passive. Leica's got Guiding Light, and we have 3 tanks. And then we're going to ban the add-in here, because this add-in is going to be able to deal a ton of damage, and we have no real good way of killing her. So we are just going to ban her. Zio goes first, and I check the turn order. And this turn order is honestly not great, because this Fallen Cecilia is going to get to put up her skill nullifier right before my Landy goes. If it was in a situation where the Fallen Cecilia goes first, and then the Crow goes, or my ML Crow, because I have both Crows on this team, then it would be better, because Crow can remove the skill nullifiers from the Fallen Cecilia, and we'll probably have enough damage to just punch through them. You can see here, we go forward a little bit. I used Astina S3 just to full cleanse everybody. We unfortunately do not proc our Wall of Order, which is, one, unlucky because he has a lot of buffs, but also doesn't matter because we're hitting in the skill nullifier here anyways. So this entire first S3 here is wasted. If these skill nullifiers were gone and we proc Wall of Order, that Renock is probably dead. As the fight goes on, we just kind of run out of damage at some point, which is, yeah, we get provoked, we run out of damage. So this was basically lost because of, well, I also get crown stunned, but I think I was dead anyways. This was pretty much lost because of the turn 1 RNG. Here is another Harsetti match, and this time we picked Athena to cleanse off Harsetti's debuffs plus LRK, because LRK does decently enough into Harsetti, I think, plus we just have another tanky unit this way. Our crowd gets banned, because their team does do a lot of damage, and we ban their Flan, because we have no real good way to kill her with so many Earth units. LRK can do something. LRK also can benefit from Flan's S1 being AoE, but easier to just ban her, because I think that as long as we get turn 1, we win this match. Here, the Harsetti takes turn 1, and we instantly check the CR. That's always the first thing you should do in a Harsetti match. I actually kind of missed it. This is pretty much the best possible turn order we could have gotten. Athena goes right after Harsetti does, so we can just press S3 and we can cleanse off the unbuffable. Like it gets to S2, push Landy, and then Landy gets to S3 because ARAM gives them all the buffs. We'll have the whole S3. Just by looking at this initial CR, I already know that I won. Some other ways this could have worked is if Leica goes before the Stina, we could press Leica S3 and try to sleep everybody. But because we have the pretty much perfect CR RNG on our side, we just get a free win off of this. There's not too many options for him. He gets to press S3 here. And actually, he didn't even land any debuffs. So I could have just S2'd the I could just S2 the Landy here if I wanted to, but better to let Leica S2 her so we can get the fighting spirit needed for a full S3. I also could have pushed up LRK with Athena and just opened with an S3 there. Just going to push up here, we S3, and this is pretty much a free win. The upside to S2ing LRK would have also been that we get the immunity buff up, so we can't get blinded by RB here. We just tank this RB S3, and whatever. It's a free win because we had good RNG on our turn orders. That's pretty much how the Harsetti match goes. Sometimes you load into the match, and you instantly know that you've lost. Sometimes you load in, and you know that you've won. And that's it for just my general drafting process. This is my first time doing this kind of thing, so I don't know if I explained it very well, but I hope the general idea gets through. It's just pick your core units and then pick your flex units is how you should generally do it. Of course, if you're strong enough, you can just force the same units every single time, like this guy that I fought here. This guy just forces his team every single time. It's the same cleave every time. That's what I did on my main. I just forced damage cleave every game. For anybody doing their final day push, good luck and hopefully you make it. I'll probably donate. I think I can afford one loss here, and I'll donate a bit on my main too, but good luck.